but very soon the private sector people are going to knock on the door and saying, hey, you, what are you doing? What are you supposed to do? Where is the land we are supposed to get to have our projects up and running? From where are going to get the energy? From where, and so on. I think the government is working. I'm not sure if it is working at the pace required or expected from our foreign partners. But in general, definitely we are back on the global economic agenda. Business-wise, we're still a high-risk country, but with high-return country as well. You see, definitely we are, from their perspective, a bomb can explode anywhere unexpectedly, but at the same, but we are ready. You see, it's a matter of assessment. Yes, we are. This building might run into some difficulties, but we are ready because the return should be high. I mean, in Turkey, we might be getting 5% in return on investment. In Egypt, we might be getting 20%. And that's enough to make for the risk. So they want to be here. They want to be part of our success story. But now it's up to us whether we would fulfill or not.
So what is your expectation for the upcoming parliamentary elections? Do you expect we have a parliament strong enough to be voicing all the concerns of the Egyptian people, the dream that everybody had on the 25th of January?
In principle, to have a parliament is an important thing, but when it comes to the election process and the candidates and who eventually will win, I guess we are fishing in the same lake. We'll end up with the same fish.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Do you mean that the parliament is going to be like do you mean that the parliament is going to be like the parliament that
before the revolution?
Yeah,
2010 or 2000?
10 or 10 or 5.
The
or
one that you used to be an ex-parliamentarian in?
Because what changed? You see, what really changed? You see, when it comes to people in the streets, the same people. So
they're gonna elect the Muslim Brothers again?
No, not necessarily Muslim Brotherhood, but the same people whom they trust at the personal level, not at the political level. You see, so they're going to elect their cousins, people who meet in mosques or in churches. You see, people who are most likely they are going to be electing what's equivalent to local councils, but at the parliamentary level. That's why I was one of those people who proposed something. I'm 100% sure that anybody at the national level would agree to, but nobody would dare to do it, which is not to have elections, to have a referendum on an appointed council for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and that would represent all Egyptians. Of course, forget about Muslim Brotherhood and people like them, but to get me Magdi Ya'oub, Ahmed Zouel, Abdel Mustafa, Muhammad Abu Ghar, all the symbols of opposition or all whom we know to be national figures who have good intentions toward this country. And this would be our transitional body for 2 years, 3 years, to re-change the landscape, you see, to actually let new flowers to flourish, new fish to breed, new to be in the room. But now you are not doing that. You are going to end up with people saying, oh, these are the people who we revolted against. Oh, remember them. Oh, wow. So why are we doing that? You see, and eventually you're going to say, why didn't we have these elections?
Is this like a move to protect the revolution, in your opinion?
At least the revolutionary principles, not the revolution. Revolution is gone. But the principle, the goals. Because I firmly believe that lots of people in the political establishment, the official political establishment, believe that this revolution had something right. It was not fully wrong. You see. But how to help it? How to help the goals, the principles, you see, of the revolution. Forget the revolutionaries as individuals. They would.
So what would you call politically the phase that we're living if the revolution was an uprising? And it's
call it a revolution. I mean, that's nothing wrong with the word revolution, but it is.
But without the revolutionaries in control, it doesn't mean that it is a revolution.
No, it is incomplete revolution. And incomplete revolution is an incomplete exam. It's like incomplete trip. It's incomplete anything. It didn't actually come up with the intended consequences that people had. But it ended up with consequences that can eventually take us to the original goals.
Or protect the existing state.
And to protect the state. That's why this this was the mistake made by those who decided to join the revolution. They came out with no plan. Let's just go in the street. Anybody on Twitter say, well, people are fighting on Muhammad Mahmoud. Go down. They would go down. Who's fighting who? For what?
So who triggered the revolution?
They triggered the revolution, but they didn't know how to stop it.
Is it a group of youth, or is it a stronger party or political party that has done that?
It was made spontaneous movement on the part of young men and women, mostly middle class or even upper, but then it went out of their hands. The revolution has been privatized. You see, there was a privatization of the revolution. Each group of people started to say, what's in it for me?
But you believe it's truly by the people, by the youth.
They were the
main figure.
For the first few weeks, that's how it was. And then eventually, Muslim Brotherhood hijacked part of it. Salafis hijacked the other part of it. Actually, NDP hijacked
at the end, the
part
Muslim Brotherhood hijacked it.
Hijacked it all because they managed to manage the expectations of the people. They promised things that people. That's why they got the 8 million votes they got in the second round.
Or the people misunderstood them and they gave them too much credit at that point.
Muslim Brotherhood were coming. That's my read of it. They would have been in office no matter what we have done. If you do not manipulate elections, Muslim Brotherhood.
Is this the end of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt?
For decades to come. Not because of the state or because of the people, because of them. They're stupid enough not to read the map well. They are like dinosaurs who don't want to grasp the spirit of the new era. They think that Mikamilin and 4 slogans, 4 fingers of Rab'a are going to be the symbol of a new revolution. No, they're stupid.
So politically. What's happening politically in the region sounds like issues that lived for decades. For example, the Yemeni case with Houthis. Do you think Egypt is now living the same phase that would yield to a worse situation in the future, having this disconnect between the parties? And
no. Okay, I'll take you into the heart of political theory a bit. Yemen is a pre-modern society. For a state, it's like 5 exams. You have a society has to go through it to eventually succeed in the exam of modernity. You have to face of identity, who you are, how you define yourself. Mostly in Yemen, in Iraq, in Syria, in Libya, people would attribute themselves to the tribe more than the state. You see, like in Egypt, once we had the revolution, most of where the state is, where the government is, where the police is. In Libya or Yemen or Somalia, or once the state was gone, what happened actually is that they started to ask where the tribe is. So definitely in Egypt, we do not have an identity crisis. We don't. Most of us see Egypt as our state. Egypt has been Egypt before Mubarak, before Sadat. Actually, it's going to be Egypt with or without Sisi, with or without you or me. Egypt is Egypt. It is a nation state. The second crisis that we have to face is legitimacy crisis. Whoever is in charge, whoever is politically in office, why is he there? In kingdoms and monarchies, usually it's a matter of monarchy. In Egypt, we in a way managed to solve this problem since 1950 revolution by saying somebody coming from a strong institution, of course the military is the biggest candidate, somebody who is supported by the state institution, somebody who has some kind of acceptance at the popular level, this is the president. And we're not going to question that much. This is not the case, for instance, in Syria. The question in Syria is why Bashar is still in office, you see, and is he going to, and so the legitimacy issue in Egypt to a large extent has been solved after 1950 revolution. We need actually to upgrade that because eventually we need elections, free, fair elections, so a civilian would rule us, but this is not going to be anytime soon, unfortunately.
Dr. Moataz, the question that Sharif further asked you about the parliamentary elections, when do you think the parliamentary elections are going to take place?
Ramadan.
After after Ramadan or at the beginning of next year?
Nobody's in a hurry.
Nobody's in a hurry. Nobody cares.
If the parliament is the solution, what is the problem? Because it might end up being the problem. To ask yourself, if it's going to solve a problem, what is the problem?
Yeah, what problem can the parliament ignite?
It's going to ignite frustration. You see, like it's in a way you're going to end up having a belly dancer or somebody.
Why don't they do rules to very restricted rules? People like this are not supposed to be in the parliament because it's a parliament.
Interestingly enough, so nobody thinks like you in this. Let it happen. You see, it's a supply and demand. It's as if you are buying.
Isn't there supposed to be a law, Sharif?
There's a lot of logical things that we might,
a belly dancer
thinking.
in the parliament?
No, I mean, we might be thinking in a way logically sometimes, while what people want is different.
Right? Who knows? Like you see.
Do people of Egypt want a belly dancer in the parliament that represents their country?
Actually, I have great trust in the Egyptian people.
Exactly, that's a good answer. Yeah.
When it comes to predicting their political. I'm always surprised.
I don't want a belly dancer.
Then go and vote no.
I will vote no.
The problem is actually what's going to happen is
she's not in my area.
Your district. No, what's going to happen is people are going to actually look if she and who is her opponent, and they might say we don't want any of them, so they are not going to go, and eventually the absolute minority are going to decide, and she might eventually succeed. Again, nothing changed in Egypt that much when it comes to issues of public choice. People now are ready to take decisions that might solve the problem in the very short run and don't think a minute about the long run. What's his name? Keynes, the famous British economist, once said, all what I can do is solve problems on the short run. In the long run, all of us will die. And apparently Egyptians think likewise. Solve the immediate problems and forget about the future.
Dr. Moataz, Abdel Fattah, let's move for a very short break and returning back with you.